Back with Dr. J. Michael Waller. He is the Vice President for the Center for Security Policy. He has been following this while everybody else has been asleep at the switch and saying the 1980s called and they want their foreign policy back. Russia has been hard at work. Dr. Waller, when you talk about these things, it sounds like a conspiracy. And they want that to feel that way, I would imagine. But they are so wide open about what their goals are. I can find these things on the internet. I can read their own writings and find that, yes, what they're trying to do is infiltrate the United States. They're trying to set us against one another. And when you watch things like the Trump Tower, I don't know whether Trump would have done something or not, but boy, this sure sounds like old KGB tactics. You set them up, you don't actually do anything, you don't offer anything, but man, you make everybody doubt it, and then you say, what? I mean, am I wrong?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. This is how they operate. We're their number one target in the whole world, the United States. So anyone who's going to go in the American leadership is going to be a huge target for them. But they're not looking for the wild cards and the crazy people or the people who they can't predict or co-opt. They're looking for the predictable people and institutions that they know. And that's the weird thing about this whole Russia collusion narrative is the people who were screaming about Russian collusion were the very politicians and others who were helping Putin's people in the past and even making money off it.
So help me out with when they're pulling these things off. Is their goal, for instance, I found it interesting that WikiLeaks. And would you agree that WikiLeaks is if not a wholly owned subsidiary, is definitely a satellite of the Russian?
Is a channel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I found it interesting that the Democrats are hacked into, and what they do to the Democrats is they split the Democrats apart, and they go after the Bernie and the Hillary people and try to split them apart. What they're also doing with left and right was infiltrating and taking Black Lives Matter and the pro-police side and just dividing us. Everything they're doing is divide, right? So what is their end goal? Just to collapse the West?
Right now, they don't have any positive image for themselves or for the rest of the world. So their goal is to just trash us and make us fight one another, make us fight our friends and allies where we have military alliances, make us fight each other in our own country, and then help us to self-destruct and lose faith in our own democratic systems. This is how they've broken down societies in the past and softened them up to collapse them and even take them over.
Is there anybody in Washington that's truly seriously looking at this and doing anything about it? It seems like all of our politicians are so busy on, responding to tweets and responding to the press, and the press is tearing the politicians apart. I mean, it doesn't sound like anybody's really paying attention.
No, there are some who would like to, in both parties, and there are some who wish it would go away, but the ones who would like to, they don't have the staff. Learning Russian isn't something that's rewarded now professionally. The CIA hasn't been hiring experts on this now since 9/11. They've all been looking at terrorists and jihadists and so forth. So you really don't have any cadres within our FBI or our CIA and other intelligence services who can really handle the political aspect of Russian operations against us.
We are one of
the old time are gone.
We are one of the only groups of in media that is actually following Alexander Dugin and his fourth political theory, and the things that he has done with the world, the World National Conservative Movement, where he has gone in and he is aiding and shaping all of these, far right nationalist organizations all over the world. And I swear to you, we've been talking about it, we've been researching it, we expose it, and no one takes it seriously. And his goal, at least, is truly frightening.
Yeah. And then people here weaponize it. They want to make every conservative look like a Russian tool.
Correct.
When really, a lot of the nationalists around the world are not ultra-nationalist extremists
Right.
or bad people, but they're so frustrated by this creepy liberal agenda being imposed by the European Union and the globalists that they feel like they have nowhere to go, and they get seduced by the Russian regime and by the Dugin theory.
Right, and the Dugin theory is the part of the theory is all you have to do is tell them, hey, you love your country, right? I mean, it's playing right into it, and they appear to be the only people recognizing the feelings of the people in each country. It's insidiously brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Putin ends up portraying himself as the great guarantor of Western Christian civilization.
Right. So what does the future look like for us? I mean, it feels like they are already fighting World War III, and we're not even recognizing it. What is our future?
Not at all. But first, Russia's really vulnerable. If we decide to push back, and there are plenty of very efficient and inexpensive ways for us to fight back, but we need to work in an unconventional way that governments are simply not good at doing. It's sort of irregular warfare. It's political warfare. There are really ways to knock the legs out from under Putin, or at least have the ability to do so if he doesn't back off us. And
right.
We haven't even gotten that far yet.
What are the really easy, unconventional things that we should be talking about?
Well, one of the things would be to play off the oligarchs against one another and to get them to fight one another the way they've gotten us to fight ourselves.
Yeah.
Instead, we put sanctions on all of them, and then that unifies them even more and makes them think they can become more powerful. You see how much the Russians have been buying up gold in the past few months. They're like crazy. They can see something. They're going to survive through whatever crisis this is. We can play them off against one another, and you'll see them actually, some of them ending up in very unfortunate situations for themselves. And Putin's going to get creeped out by that because the guy's really paranoid.
Tell me about. I've been thinking about this a lot with Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan was super. I mean, he was laser focused on that's evil. I don't think anybody here is laser focused on that evil still exists. It's just in a suit, and it may be worse than it was. Would Reagan, if these things would have been going on during the 80s, we would be at war, would we not? If Russia was doing the same things they're doing to us now?
Yeah, because they're really inside us now. But we do have to also consider they've been waging this kind of political warfare against us for 90 years.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of how do you handle it. Reagan came in understanding it. He had been a union leader with the Screen Actors Guild. He saw how the communists were trying to take over unions. He saw the penetration of Hollywood in politics. So he knew this inherently. And there was a sort of a bipartisan consensus to some degree that, yeah, we had to do something about it. So when he set up the Active Measures Working Group out of the White House and forced the State Department and CIA and FBI and others to get together to fight this, he really did focus like a laser on it. He held Gorbachev personally accountable, and Gorbachev actually put a stop to it. And that was part of Reagan's larger campaign to take down the Soviets altogether.
Dr. Waller, it is great to talk to somebody who is paying attention to this and obviously has done their homework on it. Thank you so much. Love to have you back again.
Anytime.